So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak about the glories of Srīman Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, who I met in the early 90s for the first time in the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti temple, Śrīdam Navadvip, when myself and a few devotees from ISKCON were doing some traveling and parikrama around Navadvip, and somebody said, "Oh, there's a very advanced devotee in this mat." So I just took the opportunity myself. I walked upstairs where Gurudev's room was, and then he was sitting in a chair, so I offered my dandavats, and then asked him a question. I can't remember exactly what the question is. Something about Raga Nuga Bhakti, but Gurudev answered, and then, after a few minutes, then I said thank you, and then I took off, left, and joined the others. And, then about maybe 4 years later, then, Gurudev started his first tour of the world with, I think, Brajanath and Krishnadas and Madhav Maharaj. Radhakanta had invited me to come and stay in his house. So I was very curious to come, but I was doing some didi service, and I had to kind of beg an excuse to go. But the ISKCON authorities were particularly hard on that sort of a venture. So they made it known in no uncertain terms that if I left, I would have to resign my post. So, I declined to go that year or so. But the following year, 1997, I was again letting people know in the ISKCON temple that I was saying that I was going to go for a few weeks. And of course they knew Narayan Maharaj had started his tour, so that they started feeding me a bunch of propaganda and asked a bunch of sannyasis to speak to me so that I wouldn't go. But after all was said and done, I left anyway. So I knew I couldn't come back. But it was well worth it. So when I came, I met Gurudev in Balachur. He was giving katha for about a week. And about the third day, my heart just started melting. And I was looking around, and other people you could see visibly the emotions on their face, tears were coming, and I was completely convinced that I had made the proper decision. So then that evening they said, if you'd like to ride with Gurudev in the car tomorrow morning for the morning walk, you're welcome. So the next morning, Gurudev was walking along this lake, and he didn't say anything for the whole first part of the walk. He's just briskly walking along the lake. And then when he came to the end of where he wanted to turn around, then at that point he walked straight up to me and at a very short distance looked me in the eyes and said, "Oh, you have a question." So he kind of read my mind. I said, "Yes, I'm a little curious about your position on Rath Yatra in Navadvip, and I've heard some people saying it's a rasabas, shouldn't be done." So then Gurudev's eyes kind of opened up, and he wanted to establish his position. Sometimes he was starting to walk back. So he started saying, "Yes, as I become on fire when anyone criticizes my Gurudev. He's my Gurudev, Bhakti Pragya Kish Goswami Maharaj was doing Rath Yatra. Nobody ever objected. Only after he left, then this controversy has come up. But, you should know that Navadvip and Vrindavan are not different. So, when their gopis are trying to bring Krishna back into Vrindavan, and they're bringing him into Vrindavan on the chariot of their heart, so that Vrindavan is also Navadvip. So if they're bringing him into Vrindavan, they're also bringing him into Navadvip. And he said all the temples have their Rath Yatra. All the different temples have their Rath Yatra. And it is not rasabas, He gave many arguments. Ramachandra was there also. And it's too bad it wasn't recorded. It was classic. And Gurudev said, "Oh, when I remember this incident and speak like this, I feel like a young man again." He was so excited. And then at the conclusion he said, "Everyone supported me." And he mentioned different disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta. And I thought he said Sridhar Maharaj also. But I can't exactly remember. So that was practically the whole walk all the way back, It was a long talk.
The first time I saw Srila Gurudev was I was 7 years old with my mom, and after I saw Srila Gurudev was in 2007 in German. My sister Lalita, she brought me with my another sister Lakshmi Priya, and it was so funny because I could go because of money, but we did a little arrangement, and my grandma, she helped without knowing, and I saw Srila Gurudev in 2007, 2008 and 2009 with my grandma's money, and after she went to see Srila Gurudev also, and at the second time in German was very, very special, and I never felt something like that. And I just cry a lot. I was crying all the day with Srila Gurudev. And in one day in German, Lalita told me, "Okay, now you're going to take Gopal mantra." I thought, "What is this?" It's a mantra. And I thought, "Okay, let's take a mantra." And she went to Gurudeva's room and she said to Madhava Maharaj, "Madhava Maharaj, she want to take Gopal mantra. Can I talk with Srila Gurudev?" And some way we just got in Gurudev's room, and was just me, Lalita, and Srila Gurudev. No, it was not. And was you? Okay, sorry. And my sister Priya.
This is a photo. It's not far from the thing. It'll be
Yes, have a picture. I'm like.
them and Gurudev. Like
And Srila Gurudeva gave me Gopal mantra, and he was teaching me everything, but I was crying, me and Lalita and Priya. I was in my japa mala like this, and he just told, take out your hand and do like this. And I was crying and doing like him. And after that, I was trying to understand what was that mood that he gave us in Gopal mantra. And after that, I came back to Brazil, and Sripad Avadhuta Maharaja was coming every year, like two times a year, and giving a lot of love to us and giving Gurudeva's heart. And after next year, I went again to Italy, and after I went to Italy again, and he came to Brazil, and for some Gurudeva's mercy, I went to England. I was with you guys in Ganga Mata temple, and again a lot of mercy and protection was in my life. In 2010, I saw Gurudeva in Brazil, in Italy, in Navadvip, and in Vrindavan. And so much learning with all the devotees and my sisters. And I'm really, really grateful because I feel that he loved me, and he sent me all my family and friends to help me in this way of Krishna consciousness. He gave my mom and all my sisters to guide me, and I'm really thankful for everybody.
Then that time Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, when he disappeared, and I remember actually, like, Srila Gurudeva Maharaj always talking about, you never know when death will come. Death may come today. And he described how I might leave early, because I'm disgusted. He said, I've come to this world to preach, and they won't let me preach, so he said, I may leave early. And he told us, so we went to a village called Gadaigiri, his village, and he said, I'm going to ask Gopal if I can leave this world, So when we went to the village, then we sat there, and he was telling this story at the time about some monkeys in the village, and the monkeys are there, and the king, and there was like a palace where the king lived, and in the palace, every day the monkeys would come to play, and then while they were playing, an older monkey, he warned them, you should not go to the palace, because if you go there, then great danger is there for you. And they thought, oh, you're an old monkey, you don't know anything, everything's fine. But after some time, something happened, and the king's horses, they were hurt very badly in some fire. And then the court Kaviraj, he came and he said, actually, there's one cure. He said, you have to take the monkey's brains, you have to kill the monkey, and then you have to make this paste, and then you can put this paste then onto the horses, and they'll be cured. So all of the monkeys were all killed, and then they made this paste to cure the horses. At the time, it didn't really make any sense, but afterwards, looking back, we kind of feel that Srila Gurudeva Maharaj was warning us that actually, I am going to leave, and if you stay, then spiritually, then you will be killed, without my guidance here, So I remember then when I was in Bhubaneswar at the time, and then we heard this rumor that Srila Gurudeva Maharaj had left, and it was like evening time, and no one was really sure. But then as the evening progressed, then it became night time and very dark, and everyone was in such a mood. It was like something out of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was like ladies just literally fainting and crying and wailing. And we thought maybe it's not true, because Srila Gurudeva Maharaj previously had gone into samadhi many years before, and he was a long time in samadhi, And then afterwards, everyone thought maybe he's died or something like this, but actually he was just in Bath. And so some people say, well, maybe it's like this again, he's in Bath, you know. But then the next day by Mangalati, then we realised actually really Srila Gurudeva Maharaj has left, you know, he's left his body. And I remember Damodar Maharaj at that time, he was back to Rafe, and he led Mangalati in the temple, and then halfway through he just broke down crying, and that was the end of Mangalati. And then, so it was like you can't imagine, you know, this time. And I was like devastated because I was brand new at that time, and only really just appreciating Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, and I'd been with him in Europe and travelling with him, and there was nobody like him. There's no one could be like. I met all these different sannyasis, and none of them really had the same power. I remember when Srila Gurudeva Maharaj spoke for the first time in Srila Prabhupada's room, and as he was speaking, I literally felt like he was like a transcendental personality. He was in the room, but he wasn't in the room, and I see pictures of like spirit of like Christian saints and how they had the halo above their head, and I felt he's like this, you know, he's glowing, he's not of this world. And when he told this Damodar Leela, this about how Krishna is running away from Mother Yashoda, and he was describing Mother Yashoda, and he said she's a little bit fatty, she's a bigger gopi, Krishna's running here and there, and she's chasing after her, and she's embarrassed, everyone's laughing at her. And the way he was describing it, it was like he's really seeing the Leela. And so I was like, wow, this is Guru, you know. I met other people, but this really is Guru, you know. I'd never met anyone like it. So now I've got Guru, and now he told me in his room, you know, you stay for 6 months and you do sadhu sangha, and then he's left, you know, within a very short time. And then, you know, and then it's like a dark night, you know, what do I do? You know, he's gone and there's no one else there, and I'm alone now. And they took him on parikram around the temple, and he looks, you know, perfect, like he hadn't expired, he was still in his body. And I was right at the back, you know, and following. And I was just thinking, you know, what to do, you know. Now I'm sort of like, he's gone, got nobody. And then, you know, sometime later, then Ashram Maharaj said, let's go to Navadvip and we'll meet Srila Narayana Maharaj is there, ask him for some advice. So we went to Devananda Gaudiya Mat, and at that time Srila Tripka Maharaj, Srila Ravama Maharaj and himself were on the balcony. I didn't even know who they were, who was who. And at that time it was like there were so many mosquitoes, and we were just being eaten alive. We were just like there, kind of like huddling outside, trying to not be bitten. And then after they'd finished this talk, then Srila Gurudev went to his room and we followed him. And at that time Ashram Maharaj said, you know, okay, back to Tom, you just sit and you listen, and you don't ask any questions or anything like that. You're just there. So Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, Srila Narayana Maharaj, you know, Gurudev, he was like very kind. He sat on his bed and he was very encouraging, and he said, you know, it's such a shame for Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, but they wouldn't let him preach. But now he's somewhere else and they can't stop his preaching. And you know, he said, now if anyone needs any help, I'm happy to give some guidance. And then Ashram Maharaj was asking some questions, and one of the things I said, there's many devotees, like many bhaktas have come, and they were going to take initiation for Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, but now he's left, you know, so what should they do? And he said something like, well, they should seek out any qualified disciple maybe and take initiation from them. And then Ashram Maharaj said, well, we don't really know who's qualified. So, you know, and so it wasn't such a long exchange, and then we got back on our rickshaws and then we left again, and then we met Damodar Maharaj, who was just initiated, and he had Harinama Diksha, and he was in Saffron already. So such a short time. You know, at that time we were still thinking a little bit like we can't leave the ISKCON institution, because we didn't really understand what is the meaning of ISKCON. We thought ISKCON is like an organization. It's not a spiritual entity. It's like Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and this is ISKCON. You know, not that ISKCON's actually Mahaprabhu's movement, you know, and going back in our line to Lord Brahma. We're just thinking ISKCON is just this physical, these temples, these leaders and so on. So we were very afraid about leaving ISKCON, and many people were saying, oh, we can't leave ISKCON, we can't leave ISKCON. It became like a mantra, and I'd repeat it as well, you know. And so I was just sitting there in my room, and listening every day to Srila Gurudeva Maharaj. And I wanted to come back to the West because I heard Srila Gurudev's coming to England and in '96, and I wanted to come also to be with him. But then Ashram said, no, Srila Gurudeva Maharaj gave me the order. He said, you have to stay here for 6 months, so you have to stay. So I stayed, and they all went back and they followed Srila Gurudev in England. But every day I was listening to Srila Gurudeva Maharaj because luckily I got a special saver to wash the cloth of Srila Prabhupada's Bhajam Kutir, because the prasadam was really austere in Bhubaneswar. It was, rocks were like just full of rock. The rice was just full of rocks. The dal was just yellow water, and then it was this stick sabji. So you can't imagine it was it was so austere. And so I got to get the Mahaprasadam now, so that was somewhat tolerable. And every day I'd take Maha, and then I'd listen to Srila Gurudeva Maharaj. And every day Srila Gurudeva Maharaj was just talking about sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. So then I thought, well, Srila Narayana Maharaj, surely he's a sadhu. And he says I should do sadhu sangha, so I thought I should do. So then my time was up after a while, and I got to go back to the West. And then I came straight back again, so literally boom, straight back to Mathura. And I had one of my friends, Acharya Prabhu at that time, he said, we're going to go to Bhubaneswar for Srila Gurudeva Maharaj's appearance day, Vyasa Puja, but we'll stop in Mathura on the way. And but I'm your authority at this time, and so you listen to me. When I say we're going, we're going. And I said, that's great, okay, let's go. So we went to Mathura, and we got some milk along the way, and then we went to Keshri Gaudiya Mat. And then at that time Srila Gurudev's room was in the middle floor, so it was a tiny little room really, actually. And I was it kind of made an impression on me, actually, what a small room he had and how little he seemed to have, considering he's like this guru. And so we went into the room, and I asked him one question, I think something like, what does it mean to be a disciple? And he said, it means that when you go for milk, then you offer it first to the guru. And then I thought how we'd just been for milk somewhere outside. And then I was like, wow, like he knows, so that, I remember having this experience with Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, that the real qualified guru, he knows your heart, he knows everything, past, present and future. And I had this experience with Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, that he really knew my heart. And it's quite unnerving because you've got nowhere to hide. When they look at you, they know what you're thinking, and it's almost like you feel naked actually in their presence. You can't hide from them when they're speaking to you. So then, I said, oh Maharaj, I have so many, coming from Srila Gurudeva Maharaj, he was going to be my guru, and now he's left, and I have so many desires. And then he said, okay, to someone, you closed the door. And so I was in a room with other devotees, and I think there was one Srila Prabhupada disciple, Chitra, was in the room as well. And then once he closed the door, then it was like a ray gun, looking with his eyes looking through me. And then he got very, very serious looking at me, and he said, this is not your first human birth. He said, one time you've been, he said, you've been very low like a worm, and he said, and you've been a demigoddess before. And he said, and now when you leave your body, because of your activities, you'll suffer so much, and you're going to go to hell, and this is like my first experience, and I was like really like scared, as well. And then he told me some more stuff, and I was just like, I don't even know what else he said to me. It's just like, at this point I'm just like shaking. So then I went out of his room, and then I went upstairs then to the top of the stairs, and then we met Prabhuji for the first time, and I was with Acharya Ratna at the time. And then Prabhuji grabbed hold of Acharya Ratna by the ear, and he started, and he said, what is this you're wearing around your neck? And he said, Tulsi. He said, what does it mean? And he was like, I don't know. And he said, what is this you're wearing on your head? What's this? What's that? And he started grabbing him and pulling at him and slapping him. And then he said, who's this? And he said, oh, this is back to Tom. And he goes, oh, he's a baby. You brought a baby here, like brand new baby. And very good. And then he went back to whatever he was doing. And then Acharya, because Acharya's like this, like a big guy, and he's like, whoa, he goes, I don't know who that was. He goes, but that was someone special. He got some Shakti he has. And so that was our first meeting also with Prabhuji. And I remember thinking, wow, yeah, he's amazing. I was thinking, wow, the disciples, they seem so pure and so powerful, you know. And I'm thinking that if this is the disciples, and what is the Guru, you know?
Remember, it's what is coming to my heart is like first festival when I meet my Gurudev. So it was like so sweet because, you know, like that time Gurudev, he actually he have to arrive in one city called Volgograd, and just people from airport, they like 3 hours not allow him coming out. It was really not good. And Gurudev, when he just came into the festival, he was in mood like, oh, this is my last time when I come into Russia, because the behavior was not proper. So, but when Gurudev arrived in the festival, he saw like so many devotees, and devotees, they meet Gurudev with kirtan and this and that. Gurudev's heart was completely melt, and his mood was changed. He's like telling, no, I was like coming again and again to the Russia, and just giving the mercy to the people here. And like I remember, it was very interesting time. I remember first time I just meet Gurudev, he just arriving by car, and when he's just coming out from the car, like first things I remember from him, he's like eyes. By eyes he was showing everything. He's just only looking at you, and by his eyes he's just speaking with you. This is like realization I feel like from so many years. Gurudev sometimes not only just speak with you physically, he just only looking at you, and just by eyes he can speak. And like Gurudev, when he's coming out, he just look at me, and I was feeling like by his eye he's showing that I know everything about you. Like, and it was really interesting my experience that time, because I was feeling like I'm just coming for like another planet, and you know, like everything what is Gurudev explaining. Actually, in this time he was like usually in all festival, he was explaining the glories of the all bhaktas, like all Srimad Bhagavatam. He was explaining about Ambarish Maharaj, about Prahlad Maharaj, about Chitraketu Maharaj, about Pandavas, and every festival he was finished to glorifying the Radharani and the Gopis and the Vraj and Mutin Vrindavan. This was so sweet. And actually I remember my first experience with Gurudev was like how he like when he's like giving Harikatha, he was just used to answering from all your questions. Even that time I was like so small. I was like 18 years old, like completely young, and just it was really interesting. Like I just meet devotees, but like these types of personality, like completely from another world, with this Shakti and this, you know, like so much love and affection in the heart. Gurudev just given so many things, and actually how he just represented the Siddhanta. Even I was like maybe 4 months on the Krishna consciousness, but when he given like these classes about this glories, that glories, about Prabhupada, and I also remember like first my expression what I have with Gurudev, how he was so much glorifying Param Gurudev, and he tell like, if you not if you not read Param Gurudev biography, so you're not my disciple. And he always showing, if you're like, I never alone, I always with my Guru Varga, always with Swami Maharaj, with Param Gurudev, with Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur, with all of them. And I remember after when I come into the India, I just see this like Gurudev. He always like was not different from the Guru Varga and the teachings what is Guru Varga given. And that time I remember also Gurudev just so much. He tell the story about Prahlad Maharaj. He's telling that in your life you have to also go into so many things. And the time was, you know, sometimes Gurudev and Vaishnavas are telling us things, but we're not accepting personally. But life is going, and we can see so many obstacles will come and so many things. And Gurudev, whatever he was speaking, he just saw like for the future, how is like this knowledge is helping to the people on the future. So, and I remember also like so much impression Gurudev giving when he's speaking about the quality of the guru, you know, and he was just like mentioning the shloka, this tasmat gurum prabhadyata jijnasa shayutama shabde parachinishyatam brahmanyu pasham shayam. He was like mentioning this quality of the guru, like like who is actually real guru. He's like completely free from any material desire. He can just he realized all the Shastra, Siddhanta, and like all the scriptures, and he can give essence in the heart of the disciple, essence of all of them. So, and disciple can understand, and he can just reveal in the heart all, you know, misconception, misunderstanding. And he himself, 24 hours, engaged of the service to Radha Krishna. And this is, I have so much experience with this, because Gurudev, he's speaking this for the future, for people know their, you know, like basic Siddhanta, and how, like, who is real Guru, because Gurudev, he always speak about the Mahabhagavad Guru Varga, person who's coming from that world, person who's like bringing people from this world to another world. This was like really amazing things, you know, because so many people can speak, but who's completely was realizing these things, 24 hours experience, relationship with Bhagavan. And when you meet these types of personality, this is like not cheap. And actually, Gurudev used to tell that in this world, so much rare people can meet real Guru, but more real people can be real disciples.